What's up, people? Um, still kind of getting, still kind of getting used to this live streaming stuff. I think we're good. Let me make sure though. Want to make sure that it's listed on YouTube real quick. So far, I'm not seeing it. See, that's the thing about YouTube, man. I mean, I think they try to make it easy to do. And for the most part, compared to where it used to be, it is 10 times better than it used to be. But it's still a little, I don't know. I guess kind of, it just takes some getting used to, you know? What I'm trying to do here is refresh my YouTube page to see if I can see the live stream thing come up. Yeah, there we are. Okay. All right. So anyway, I thought in today's stream, just just for giggles, I was gonna see if I could give that Gagwo faction a gift. um, not not because I have to, but it's just that uh the last time I streamed, they invited us out to have some sort of like diplomacy rendezvous, and in turn, we were able to basically improve relations with them. I don't really plan on trading with the faction anytime soon, but I want to try to explore that just to see where it can lead, because I've never really done that in this game. Usually the factions that are adversarial to me or confrontational, I usually just either attack or just, you know, don't really do anything with them in general. So what I thought I would do is once I get done, because right now I'm kind of in the middle of loading these launchers up with those toxic waste packs, because I've got to do another dump here before too long to get some of that crap out of my colony. But I was thinking once we get done doing that, I would try to send that Gagwo faction maybe some of my textiles or something, because I have a shit ton of those textiles and I need to get rid of them. And I gotta figure out where these guys are. I think that's not there. I might not be able to do it now that I'm thinking about it. Because now that I think about it, I don't know where. I really don't know where one of their settlements might be. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So I've got all of these different factions and stuff. And the ones that wound up inviting me out have relation discussions or whatever. It's this faction, I guess. But I'm not really sure exactly where they might be unless this was actually one of them. Oh, okay, yeah. They're okay. Okay, good. So if I want to, which is kind of weird in a way, why would they come all the way out here, like to down here where that meeting was? But in any event, once I get done with the toxic waste pack disposal stuff that I'm doing right now, I'm gonna try to send them, I don't know, man, some wool or camel hide or something just to see what it does, because right now it's hostile at a -12, but I figure if I can send them some gifts or something, maybe that would improve relations to the point where they're no longer going to try to be hostile to me. And for whatever it's worth, I've never been attacked by them, and I think it's because they're all the way out there. But on the same hand too, though, this Kush faction, those are the guys that usually try to raid me after I get done dumping my waste packs out here. Usually it takes about 3 or 4 times of doing that before they eventually try to raid me, but I have been raided by them about 3 or 4 times. So I'm thinking, like, if there's a chance for me to improve relations with those people, I don't know. I just don't know where it can maybe lead. That's what I think I'm going to try to do in this stream. Just for giggles. So anyway, man, I hope all you guys are having a good time if you happen to come across my stream or see this at some point. I'm still on vacation. I've got about 2 weeks still vacation time left, which is nice because it helps me stay away from work for a while and keep my mind free. Focus on other things. Like right now, I don't know if I've mentioned this before or not, but I'm in the process right now of trying to basically slowly work on my own business ventures. And one way in which I'm going to try to do that is by making a political site. And it's essentially, I'm going to try to position the site in a way to where it tries to avoid bias, you know, it tries to be like a fair political entity, but it is going to actually, it's going to err on the side of America first types of ideologies and principles and things like that, simply because before Trump came along, I always believed that America needed to put its interests first, because we had been getting into the routine of not doing that, and through time you begin to kind of see the effects of it. I'm not here to say one way or another is better than either or, but as an American though, I'm not going to be bashful about feeling the desire to put America's interests first. But I'm also not going to be one of those assholes too that says, well, you know, if you're from X, Y, and Z country or whatever, then to hell with you or something like that. I don't believe in that either. But with none of that's neither here nor there, because the main point is that I was just going to try to at some point make a political website that tries to establish a community with like-minded people of that type of philosophy, but also tries to like do things like create listservs and online forums and things like that. Because one thing that's really been bothering me for the past few years is this whole censorship stuff that you see a lot of the time on websites. And I mean, it's getting really, really bad. I can understand, despite the fact that I don't completely agree with it in every single respect, I can at least, for the most part, understand the need to censor people that are trying to do things like your stereotypical calls to violence and all that kind of stuff. That's at least understandable. The things that I don't like, though, are those times when you're on, like, a Facebook page, and I don't know, man, there's like a, oh, I need a belch. There's like a news story or something that comes up, and somebody posts an opinion, and without even being given a reason, that person later realizes that they've been shadow censored. You know, it's like they can see their post, but nobody else can see it. And that stuff pisses me off more than anything, because that's just really snaky. And I want to try to create a community that can have free and open dialogue about stuff, because that kind of shit has really gotten out of hand. Really prolific on Facebook, and that's one reason that I don't even use Facebook anymore, because of it. But it's like that too on Twitter or X. The last time I was on there, it was like that. And there's just a lot of websites anymore that are utilizing that. My local news website here in Terre Haute, they do a lot of that shit too, and it's just something that I'm just completely over. But the sad fact, though, is that almost every website nowadays does that, and I want to try to make a website that doesn't do that. And don't get me wrong, man, I'm not trying to sit here and stress or project this type of desire that, you know, I'm going to have a website that's going to take on Facebook or any of that kind of stuff, man. I'm not naive. But I thought it'd be just nice to have kind of like a low-profile type of open dialogue community for things that are kind of geared towards politics and, you know, life stuff. But in order to get there, though, I've been trying to focus on some security stuff, kind of beef up my server hosting space and protect it against habitual black hats and things like that. And so this vacation time that I'm on, it's been pretty valuable to allow me to kind of focus on that. And the website itself, it's going to be done through Drupal, and this thing that I'm working on, it's going to be basically governed by Drupal's custom module API. And I've made a lot of progress with it too. So it's coming along really well. It's just going to take some time though. Just like with everything, everything just kind of takes time. But it's something that I'm kind of looking forward to, man, because the ultimate goal that I have in my mind nowadays, I'm 42 years old, going to be 43 in April. And the older I get, the more I realize that I want to try to go into business for myself because I'm just getting tired of working for other assholes. I mean, I see things that go on at work all the time that in my eyes at least are unjust. And you hear about all the horror stories out there in life of people losing their jobs after 20, 30 years or whatever of loyalty. And you realize at some point that if you're not careful, that can be you. And so, it goes without saying that you want to try to do everything you can to kind of secure yourself and your livelihood. And unfortunately, in today's world, man, that's just kind of where we are with stuff until there's like a massive, I don't know, a type of employment renaissance of some kind. You're always going to be at the whims of some person who doesn't value you for whatever reasons that they come up with. And I don't like being stuck in that type of proposition. So I'm beginning to try to make efforts to try to gradually change that in time. Which is, it's an overwhelming feeling because you got to go through a lot to be able to get to that point, but that's what someone has to do, then that's what someone has to do. So we'll see how that goes. Let me see here. I guess all of you guys have heard about the whole Maduro thing. In my mind, I don't know, man. I think I don't know a whole lot about Maduro, but from what little I do understand, that guy wasn't up to a lot of good. I guess he had a lot of ties to cartels and things like that. And I've said since day one that at some point we're going to be forced to confront the cartels in some way, shape, or form. And I hope it doesn't ever come to this, but part of me always believed that at some point we might even be forced to invade Mexico. Because that's obviously where a lot of that kind of crap is happening. And out of all of the stuff that we've been involved with overseas, from the Gaza Strip stuff to Ukraine, to Taiwan, out of all the stuff that we've ever messed with, I've always believed that confronting the cartels would be one of the only foreign endeavors that I would actually be on board with. And that's mostly because of all the stuff that I've seen online that those cartels are responsible for. The vile darkness and brutality that they're known for, man. I don't care what their excuse is. Some of the shit that I've seen online of those assholes, man, I've always believed that they need to be eradicated. And if taking Maduro out or putting him on trial here in the States or whatever is going to wind up leading to that, then I'm basically for it. My problem with a lot of it, though, is the fact that I feel like in terms of priorities, the whole Maduro thing, in my mind, should take second place compared to things like creating more entry and mid-level jobs for people here in the United States. Because in my opinion, I think we've got some serious problems with the job market. And not only the job market, but also with... There's something that nobody seems to be really confronting very well, and that's stabilizing and lowering recurring costs. Because everything anymore... I mean, for the most part, costs in general... I don't think they're worse than what they were back in COVID, and a lot of it has gone down, I think, especially where gasoline is concerned. But in terms of like recurring costs like utilities, taxes, various insurance, things like that, those kinds of costs I still see increasing. Now, I'll say this much. At the beginning of the year, I managed to get my statements for both my car or vehicle insurance and my homeowner's insurance. And thankfully, my vehicle insurance went down. I think it was like about, I don't know how many dollars, but it wasn't more than 10, I don't think. But conversely, my homeowner's insurance went up about 10. So it's like I didn't really make any gains or anything. It just kind of stayed where it was. But in my mind, that's a major issue. So there's essentially, I think there's two priorities that the Trump administration should be putting ahead of these foreign things, whether it be Venezuela, Gaza, Ukraine, or anything else. And that's the whole thing about entry to mid-level job opportunities, increasing those tenfold, and getting ahead in stabilizing and or lowering recurring costs in this country. Those two things right there are massive things that I think are not getting enough attention. And you mark my words, man, I think it's going to come back and bite that guy in the ass whenever midterms gets here. In my opinion, unless he does something, unless he maybe like has a trick up his sleeve or something, I think midterms are going to be a Republican bloodbath. And I think it's mostly just because the Trump administration isn't paying enough attention to the jobs market as well as just the recurring cost thing. But by my saying all this though, I'm still in favor of trying to take on the cartels in whatever form and fashion it comes in. It's just that I just don't think it's a priority right now, and despite the fact that it's obviously important. But that's my own stupid opinion. I could be completely wrong about that, and I admit that. I just know that in my day-to-day life, I worry a lot about job opportunities because of stuff that I see at my own job, but also just because whenever I get out there on Indeed and some of those other job websites, I look at all the available options that are in my area, and not only do the available options in my area suck, but the ones that do exist are like for managerial and up opportunities. You hardly ever see anything for entry level or mid level, and if you do, 9 times out of 10, it's like a really really sketchy ad or something that gets broadcasted as either a remote job when it isn't, or just some sort of ghost type thing. That shit is really prolific anymore. And I'm not really sure why nobody's trying to get ahead of it, or at least it doesn't really seem to me like anybody is trying to get ahead of it. But I think it's a mess, man. And like I said, man, I just think the job market right now in the United States is nightmarish, and I just don't see enough effort being done to really get ahead of it. And President Trump's efforts to try to increase or enable these AI data centers and stuff to be built. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, it's about time we got some sort of trader. Um, the whole AI data center thing, I want to sit there and congratulate Trump or whoever for bringing in another big data center here and there. But the thing is that we all know how AI is going to get used against people. We see it all the damn time. We see it with these stupid websites and these social media platforms and whatnot, because what happens is you get these big tech companies in there. They incorporate some sort of autonomous AI functionality type thing, and 9 times out of 10 it is almost always used against the people that are using the platform. But adding insult to injury, though, you also have this situation where these big AI data centers, they use these massive amounts of electricity, and that's going to wind up increasing electrical costs. Now, I think President Trump has said a few times before that he's going to try to do things to where he incentivizes these companies to build their own power sources. But I don't know if I've seen anything that's substantive enough for me to really believe that that's going to come to fruition, because I don't recall ever seeing any type of, like official like bill stipulations or anything anywhere that say that these companies, in order for them to be able to build in these X, Y, and Z states, they first have to make sure that they have their own power sources. I just haven't seen that. I know that he's tried to encourage them to do that, but I don't know, man. Because I know that we've got at least one or two data centers that are going to be built here in Indiana at some point. If I remember right, I think there's at least one. And one of the biggest concerns is the electrical utility and what that's going to do for that. But there's also another thing too that not very many people have really shown much concern about, and that's property taxes too, which I also think is going to wind up being hit by these data centers. So man, I don't know. I don't know what to think about it all. And when it comes to jobs, I know that Trump has tried to brag about how these AI data centers are going to increase the number of job opportunities. But the thing is that with me having the experience that I have in IT, I can tell you 100% that the majority of any potential job forecasts that get conveyed from the building of these places is going to be undermined by the fact that these companies are going to do everything they can to automate as many opportunities as they can. And a lot of it's going to be ironically done through AI. So, traditionally a big data center might employ maybe 500 people. I know that I worked at one once up there in Fishers that I think had no less than 500 people working at it full time. It's probably a little more than that. But the more or less modern version of a data center now, when they're built brand new, I mean, you're talking about a data center that is going to be using the most cutting edge technologies probably, because when you build something new, that's the best time to incorporate the newest technologies and code up to code standards and things like that, And so I don't really believe that these AI data centers that are going to be built brand new are going to wind up having that many jobs, man. Because what used to be the work of 10 people has now been consolidated down to like maybe one or two because of all of these advances in programming, AI, automation, all this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of all this. With me being a Trump voter, I want to believe that he's gonna do right by the people, because I do believe that. I mean, you say whatever you want about Trump, man. I know the guy's got his flaws, but I do believe that the man has good intentions for his constituency. Whether or not that actually comes to fruition, who knows, man. Everybody has their own judgments to make, but I'll be honest with you. I'm not completely happy with everything the guy's done. I'm not thrilled about these AI things that he's essentially trying to enable. I'm not really crazy about his sense of prioritization, because again, back to earlier, I don't think that all of the time that he's been spending lately on these foreign situations should be out prioritizing things that need to be focused on domestically, namely with the jobs and the recurring cost thing that I mentioned. So, there are things about what he's done that I'm not happy about, but I still support the man, and I also acknowledge the fact that he has access to things that I don't, which convince him to do things in certain ways. And as much as I don't want to admit it, I'd even say that's the same thing with, or that was the same thing with Biden or Obama or any of the other people that more or less align with the regime that I'm not really crazy about. So I don't know really what to say about any of all of it, but I do support Trump, and for all of our sake, I want him to succeed, because if your president isn't succeeding, then you're all gonna wind up having some problems. Now, these guys I don't like, these royal tribute collectors. I always told myself that at some point, if I ever establish myself to the point where I have like all of these defenses and stuff, I was gonna start taking those people out. But long term, though, I've realized that it's probably not good to do that. Let me see here. And I think we have some stuff that we can give them, so we'll go ahead and do it, I guess. But yeah, man, it's 2026 now, and so my hope is that a lot of these employers, they start doing a little more in terms of hiring. That's That's my hope. I want to see more jobs, you know, especially in my area, 'cause where I live and work, man, jobs are super scarce, especially any that are actually decently paying. Really gets me depressed sometimes. Because if you're ever in a situation where you want to get a better job or just a different job and you can't find anything, man, it makes you feel stuck. I don't know where these guys are gonna go. I told myself that if they wind up coming into here somewhere, maybe I'd send somebody out to trade with them, but I'm betting they're gonna start going all the way up here. Maybe I should go ahead and get them now. Go ahead and do that. Some Lila out there. Because if they go all the way up here, it'll be a pain in the ass to have to go and haul everything back if we wind up making some trades with them. In fact, she doesn't have a jetpack. Alright. Let's have a walk up there. On a different note, I've been trying to do more home cooking lately, and now they're leaving. Let's give 400, I guess. Damn it, they left. God dang it, that pisses me off. Because we haven't had a good trade in a long time. I could use them. Well, so anyway, yesterday, I decided to go ahead and try to make some pizza by hand, you know, making the dough and everything. Boy, oh boy, do I have a lot to learn with making pizza dough. I mean, it came out okay. It was edible and everything. Don't get me wrong, but it could have been much better. I used the whole double O or 00 flour. And I think one thing that I did wrong was that the yeast I put in with the salt and the flour, and from what I understand, you need to try to give yourself what they refer to as a buffer, which means then that you would put the yeast in a little bit of water, then the flour, mix it up, and then put the salt in, I guess. And the reason for that is because I guess the yeast needs a little bit of time to basically like trigger itself or instigate the process that it does in order to become yeast, I guess. and if you put the salt in too early, it interferes with that and kills off the yeast, or at least debilitates it in some way, shape, or form. So it didn't really grow as much as I guess I was expecting it to. But out of the amount that I made, I was able to pull off two I don't know, medium-sized pizzas or something like that. And I just made standard pepperoni pizza out of it. And I mean, it still turned out pretty good. I wasn't really crazy about the crust though. And one other thing that I think I did wrong, because I did buy from Amazon, I bought one of those I think what is it, 5/8 inch steel pizza, I don't know what you even call them, boards or whatever. You put them in the oven, you crank your oven up really high and let that heat soak up into the steel platform or whatever, pan, I guess. And then at some point you put the pizza pie on it and everything like that. And basically what it's supposed to do is make the undercrust, or what they call it, the undercarriage, much crispier, I guess. Well, anyway, what I think I did wrong was I think, I don't think I heated the steel thing up hot enough for a long enough period to really get it nice and hot. And to make matters worse, whenever I put that in there, I think I should have turned the heat down in the oven, because by the time everything was cooked, the pizza crust, or the pizza cheese on top and everything, it was, I think it was cooked a bit too fast, with the undercarriage not cooked long enough. So the idea is that I would put the pizza in on top of the steel thing, but then put the oven down so that it would give the crust more time to soak up that heat from the steel, with the cheese and the toppings not being forced to cook as quickly. And therefore, once you take the pizza out, the undercrust would be, or the undercarriage would be better, and the toppings wouldn't be cooked as severely as they have been lately. So anyway, I'm going to try that whenever I make another one of these damn things. But I really want to try to figure out how to make really awesome Neapolitan pizzas, because I've always loved that type of pizza, but cooking that type of thing at home is really hard, unless you really know what the hell you're doing. And with me, I mean, I'm pretty new at that kind of stuff, so I've still got a lot to learn with it. Make sure that the zone is correct here. See, I've got things broken up into different zones. I've got like my workshop detail, boomalope feeding bot zone, ag detail, so forth and so on. And for these deep drills, I always try to make sure that they're in the stonework and mining detail zone, because it lets me kind of break certain people up into certain types of priorities. But I love cooking, man. I love cooking. I'm getting really good at making sushi, and I'm getting better at making basically more normal Asian dishes like General Tso's. I've learned how to make that. I've learned how to make beef and broccoli. Um, One of my bosses at work gave me an old wok that I just love. And usually whenever I cook either General Tso's or the beef and broccoli, I always try to use that wok. But I tell you, man, making beef and broccoli with beef correctly cooked, that's a lot more difficult than you might think. Or at least it is in my eyes, because you've got to like put baking soda and whatever else in like a bowl, and then let your beef kind of soak that up, because it kind of, I can't remember what they call it. I can't remember what the technical term of it is. It's like fluffing the beef up or something. But supposedly it's supposed to give that beef that kind of like tender texture, I guess. But when you put it in the wok, the tenderness gets retained on top of the crispy surface that the wok creates whenever you cook the beef against it. I'm getting better at it, but it's something, though, that I still have a lot to learn with, because I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but sometimes it just, I think sometimes I either use too much marinade on the beef, or else sometimes I don't let the wok get hot enough. And some of that might be because of my stovetop burner, because I don't have the best stovetop. I mean, it's gas based, but one of the head units that I usually cook with, it's never really been completely right, and I sometimes wonder if it's like got some sort of clog or something in it, maybe from some old food or something. But it came from it was a new ordered head, and since day one of putting it on there, it sometimes takes a number of clicks before it lights up, and sometimes you have to blow on the gas exhaust ports on the head to get it to ignite, which it It probably sounds really dangerous, but it's not as bad as it sounds. It's just, you know, you got to feed it some air, in other words. And I think something in it, something with how it's been built or designed, maybe it's like the model of head that I ordered, because I know that the other heads that are on the stovetop that I can light, they light up perfectly fine. It's just this newer one that I installed. That's, I don't know, man. It's like an aftermarket or something. But I love cooking with woks. I just wish I was better at it. Alright, let's see how we're doing with the toxic loading. Ready to launch. Go loading. He's ready. Okay, we've still got a ways to go yet. Alright. Something else I did today was I finished up the Stranger Things show. And I know it's been getting a lot of headlines about being woke and everything. And I mean, in my opinion, there was a lot of unnecessary woke stuff in it. But on the same hand, too, despite the woke stuff, it was still generally entertaining. At least the last episode, it kind of was. But I mean, being as objective about it as possible, it's a far cry from where they started, because during seasons 1 and 2, I was addicted to that show. But then, I don't know, something happened from season 2 to where we are today, where it just kind of, I don't know, man. I think there's sometimes things that go on in shows behind the scenes when a lot of the actors and actresses, they probably just get tired of it. And you can kind of tell that sometimes with, I think, this show, because you could just tell that the energy wasn't really there like it used to be. And I do think that that sometimes comes through with the acting, and I think it did with that Millie, what's her face, the main actress, and some of the other people that were on there. And I remember reading headlines about, I think her name's Millie Bobby Brown or something like that. Her and that David guy. Apparently there was some friction between those two. I guess that Arbor guy or whatever his name is, he was bullying her or something like that. So the point is that there's probably a bunch of crap that's going on behind the scenes, and whenever you're stuck in a situation like that where you've got to, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to be an actor or an actress in a situation where you don't want to come to work, you know, or at least you're just tired of it and you just want to move on to other things. I'm sure that they feel like that. I imagine a lot of actors and actresses feel like that after they've done like about 3 or 4 years worth of seasons. It kind of makes me think a lot about Grey's Anatomy and how much some of those people must be so tired of that show, because that show's been on for like almost 20 years, I think, or something like that, maybe a little more. And The Walking Dead, I'm sure it was like that with a lot of those people. And in a way, it kind of sucks because you love those shows oftentimes. I remember whenever I first started watching Walking Dead, I was crazy about it. But then I think it was after I think it was that season where they're out of the prison and they're moving on. It was somewhere around that time that I began to kind of get tired of it, because it was just like, okay, you know, this just doesn't really feel like it's going anywhere. And for Stranger Things, it began to kind of feel like that for me after season 2. But I've been watching also, because I've got some shows on some of my hard drives and stuff, and I've been watching some of the Star Wars shows. I think it started off with The Mandalorian, and then I rewatched The Book of Boba Fett, and then Ahsoka. Love those shows. Those freaking shows are awesome. And I can't wait for any new episodes that they come up with here before too long, or new seasons. Okay. Probably not going to get a whole lot out of these people, but we'll go ahead and send somebody out there trading. Anyway, I can't remember the last time I got an orbital trader, man. think in-game years, it's been about 5 or 6 years. Probably more. Looks like we've got a deep drill here that can be moved. Let's see here. We can move it. I'm trying to prioritize steel. So I'm always in need of steel. In fact, I think we need to start prioritizing scanners. Find us some more. Now though, we'll put it right here, I guess. Yeah, see, these guys don't really have a whole lot. We'll go with that. Okay, so it looks like a lot of my people are spending a lot of time on the long-range scanners. And what I want them to do, what's this one tuned to? Components? Okay. I want them to focus a little more on these guys right here. The ground penetrating radar thing. What I'm going to try to do to balance that is disabling a few of these. That one. Disable this one. And disable this one. Hopefully the people that would normally be using that will instead now start using this. I guess we'll have to see. Honestly, man, I'm pretty happy with how this colony's turning out. It's come a long way. Despite all of the moving parts and the chaos, it's actually pretty smooth going. I worry a lot, though, about one of these days somebody coming in, either raiding me or something, or like an asteroid or meteor, lighting this whole entire building up. Not outside the realm of possibility. But I mean, you've got to store your shit somewhere, right? And I mean, I could do something where it's like a little bit all over the place instead of all just in one spot like that. But you're talking about a much more difficult way of managing that type of stuff then at that point too. So it's just a risk that I take. In retrospect, though, if I could do things differently, I'd probably figure something else. I'd try to figure something else out. I just don't know what it would be. I know that with the vanilla version of this game, you're only allowed like a certain number of zones. And so that's always been kind of like a frustrating constraint that I've had to deal with. But the number of zones and trying to figure out the best, most efficient routes for people to take whenever you're sitting there doing work, that's always been another thing. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I did the whole circular thing, because I thought in my mind that would be an easy way to kind of be as efficient in terms of your routes that your colonists have to take when getting from point A to point B. Thought that would be a good way to deal with that. And I do think it's helped out a lot, but it's still, far from being as efficient as I'd want. I've also read too that one tip in this game is making your staging locations right in the center of your colony. So, or your caravan hitching spots. I mean, so if I was to put my caravan hitching spot right in the center, and then like make these routes like some sort of open walkway of some kind, it would make hitching things a lot easier, I guess, because it makes it easier for everybody to load stuff up. That's been something that I've thought about doing maybe one day in the future. I just don't want to mess with it right now, though. There's just so much other stuff going on. I mean, I've been working on this for, I don't know, about the past, I think, 2 or 3 episodes. And a lot of that is just because it's difficult getting people to come down here and use these stone cutter tables. And the reason for that is because you've got to be like a certain level of crafting, I think it is, for them to want to do that. Whoa. Okay, Cream is one of our founders. I'm not going to let that happen to her. What we're going to do is put her in here. Can we do that with... Is it... Okay, hold on a second here. Shit, I don't want to do that. I thought there was a certain thing that I could do in here. Yeah, I think it's this. Bioregeneration. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that might cure that. For some reason, though, it's not. Oh, I guess it's because we need 2 Glitter World. I guess we don't have that yet. The only other option is that I'm going to have to use my healer mech serum. So I've got 3 of those somewhere around here. I want to try to save those, though, because I always try to save the mech serums for emergencies. I'm kind of surprised, though, that we don't have more Glitter World. It's making me wonder now if I should go ahead and make a trip down there to the Caspis place, or whatever it's called. Let's see here. It's basically December. It's 27 degrees outside. Try to get by for now. But at some point, I'm going to have to put Cream in the bio-regen thing here. And that sucks because it takes 23 days for that to do its magic. But I think that'll take care of her dementia. I just need some Glitter World. Yeah, there's one right there. Does Clark have any? Yes, it does. Okay. I think we might be in business. Need something useful. Gastro analyzer. I'll take that. Okay, so there's one. Grab her. Go over here. What I'm gonna have her do is pick that up and go into that biopod. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Ah, damn it. I'm not going to be able to fix that then with this. That means then that we're going to have to use the healer mech serum. Crap. I need to find it. I don't know where that is. Oh, here it is. Okay. Alright. Alright, Cream. Creamsky poo. Out of all the things to light up, let's go ahead and light the one thing that, well, one of the few things that can explode. I think. I'm pretty sure that those things can explode when they reach a certain point. Come on, Green. Right. Sweet. All right, man. Good to go. I need to take care of this idiot. Hey, these pyromaniac types are pains in the asses. what I do to try to deal with it. Because I don't want to beat them up, and I don't want to put them in jail, because that always winds up causing problems too. What the hell's his problem? Food poisoning? One frustrating thing about this game, the amount of hand holding you have to do. Good arrest, Faye. I will say this much about AI though. It'd be awesome if they could find a way to make actual AI use incorporated into some games. Like I've seen things on YouTube where there's been some mod attempts at trying to do that for things like Skyrim. And the way it comes across is you can tell that it's not really natural, you know, it's kind of kludgy a little. But it was at least a good proof of concept to let you kind of catch a glimmer of what's possible with AI. And if they ever figure out a way to make that really truly incorporated into a game like Skyrim or something like that, that would be revolutionary for a number of reasons. Not just for dialogue or something, but it would be awesome. Because, I mean, I think if they did it not just with like NPC level type stuff, but also with actual like world generation, it would increase it would increase a game's replayability by like 100-fold. Because then at that point you're talking about an AI that would essentially be like doing things to change the world around you as you progress in the world itself. Like, for example, imagine Skyrim, where you're walking through a town at one point in the game, like let's say you're a low-level warrior or something, and you don't really have much of a reputation yet with the people, so everything's just kind of like normal. But then as you progress, you get more notoriety or more infamy. You might like either see a bunch of the townsfolk welcoming you, showering you with gifts and like flowers or something. Or if you're like a crime lord, you would see a bunch of the windows boarded up, or, you know, people moving out of town because of who they know you as, you know, things like that type of dynamic. Or even just imagine a Skyrim that has an AI that's building new towns or something as you progress, or towns that get sacked or something. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking of, man. Oh, I guess she's done with her mania. So anyway, I mean, with AI, with that in mind, I think that could really be awesome. I don't know if they'll ever get to that point. because the only thing that they seem to be doing right now is trying to find ways to add AI for things like, you know, dialogue and stuff. And don't get me wrong, some of that can be pretty cool too, but you just need to think about AI beyond player to NPC interactions. Think about the potential it has for all of these other aspects of gameplay. Like, imagine AI in Rimworld, okay? And like, let's say for example, let's say, I mean, like right now with vanilla, and I think they have mods that can do this now, but in vanilla, towns and stuff don't get built. You never see towns like moving around. You don't see the factions fighting each other. You know, you don't see a lot of that type of stuff, and you don't see things like trade routes being established or just whatever. You know, there's a lot of stuff there that AI could help with. And again, I know that there's some mods out there that can do some of that kind of stuff, but it would be a far cry compared to what something like AI would have the potential of doing. And it'd just be kind of cool to see something like that in Rimworld. Alright, let's see how our toxic stuff is doing here. That one's ready to launch. Still got a few yet on that one. That one's ready. Yeah, we still got a ways to go yet. You know what? I say we just go ahead and do it anyway with one of these others, because I always try to leave 4 available to be used while I'm loading stuff up in these others. So let me see here. Let's go ahead and load this one up. I said that I was going to try to do textiles just because it'd give me a way to get rid of some of the stuff. So let's load it up with... we'll give him some bird skin, or lizard skin, I mean. Camel hide. Fox fur. And I guess we'll load the rest of it up with some of this plain leather. That'll be a pretty awesome gift. I'm just hoping though that I can like reach to where it is I'm wanting to shoot that to, because that, I don't know, man. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it that far. In fact, I know I won't. I don't even know why I did this. I think I'm gonna have to cancel if I can. I wonder what would happen if I went over there. Not that I want to, because that... How long would that take? Oh my god. Almost 13 days. Screw that. Well, this kind of sucks. Can I not cancel it? Yeah, okay, cancel. Well, I guess that idea has been shot through the water. Because I already have those things set to max fill pin fuel. So I'm not going to be able to make it out that far. Unless I do some sort of caravan, and I sure shit don't want to do that. Oh well. Guys, I've been streaming now for about an hour. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end it right here. I think whenever I come back, though, what we'll try to do... Let's See, what will we try to do? We'll try to... we'll keep working on this. And keep trying to entice the Kush faction to come raid us. That way we can have some people to sacrifice to that rib scanner thing and get our darn fabric cores made. So anyway, I think that's where we're gonna end it, man. Thanks for tuning in if you happen to see this. If not, no worries. But make sure you like and subscribe, and as Tim Pool loves to say, smash that like button. Anyway, you guys have a good night, and I'll see you on the flip side. Later.